Welcome to Financial Confidence for High-Achieving Women, the go-to podcast for women of color entrepreneurs overwhelmed by their finances and ready to transform their money mindset, take control of their money, and build sustainable wealth. I'm your host, Taryn, better known as T-Money, certified financial coach and CEO of Money Honey LLC. I believe that abundance is your birthright and that good money management doesn't mean cutting out the joy from your life. Stick around to learn how you can build intentional money habits that align with your biggest lifestyle goals. Let's get into today's episode. Have you ever felt like no matter how much money you make, you're still one step away from the bottom falling out? You hit your goals, but somehow you're always stressed about bills, overspending, or that next unexpected expense. That's what I call survival mode. And it's keeping so many high-achieving women from stepping into true wealth. Welcome to episode 26 of the Financial Confidence for High-Achieving Women podcast. I'm your host, Taryn, better known as T-Money, and today we're going to talk about what survival mode really looks like, why it's so hard to break free from, and the exact shifts you can make to transition into wealth mode, a space where your money finally feels safe, aligned, and set up to grow. By the end of this conversation, you'll know how to spot the signs of survival mode, the mindset shift that changes everything, and the simple systems you can start building today to create financial confidence and lasting wealth. And if you're ready to take this deeper, I want to personally invite you to book a wealth alignment assessment with me. In just 60 minutes, we'll uncover where survival mode is showing up in your finances and create a personalized strategy to help you step into wealth mode with clarity and confidence. You can find the link in the show notes. So let's get into the first part, which is recognizing survival mode. Survival mode looks like being always on edge or anxious when it comes to money. You may be living paycheck to paycheck, no matter how much money you are making. It could also look like a feast or famine cycle, similar to what I talk about in episode 11 of the podcast, or being guilty with spending. So you spend something, buy something for yourself, and then within minutes, within hours, within days, you're feeling some guilt there for making that purchase. According to the American Psychological Association, 65% of Americans cite money as a significant source of stress. This also manifests in high achievers, not just the average person. And it's related because we're always moving the goalpost and striving to be better. We often get stuck in the not enough. And in this case, honestly, it's money, right? Like it feels like there's not enough money. There's never enough money. And additionally, if you find yourself doing everything right, but still struggling to manage money, I've found that there's usually a past experience or habit driving that stress and creating a block for you. Now, for a quick story, I had a client who from the outside looked like she had it all together. She had a beautiful home and a multiple six-figure business, but inside she was constantly worried the bottom would fall out. She told me that if she made one wrong move with her money, she was terrified she'd lose everything. At first, we thought the issue was her money systems. And what we ended up uncovering in coaching was that it wasn't about spreadsheets or strategy. It was a subconscious block. She wanted to increase her investments from $2,000 to $5,000 a month. But every time she tried, she ended up spending the money instead, whether it would be on a trip their girlfriends asked her to go on, or even just like impulse spending when she was out shopping. And so after a few sessions, we discovered the root. When she was just 11 years old, she watched her aunt make a big investment in her business and lose it all within months. Seeing the fallout left a deep imprint. And without realizing it, my client internalized that belief that investing meant losing. She spent years criticizing herself for not being disciplined when it really was her nervous system protecting her from repeating that childhood experience. Once we uncovered that, we worked on reinforcing new beliefs and slowly increasing her investments $1,000 at a time. And guess what? She started hitting her goals with confidence instead of fear. And that's why I say survival mode isn't just about your bank account, it's about the beliefs that you've been carrying for decades. When we try to unlearn some of these beliefs, we are really running into habits and things that have been repeated to us or that our own systems are repeating to us over and over and over again for months, years, decades at a time. And so it requires patience to start to work through that. And that brings me into my next point, which is the mindset shift that changes everything. So, survival mode often equals scarcity mindset, which is going to block wealth creation. Operating out of fear, which is your nervous system protecting you, um, that leads you to like stay at the same level. If you've ever experienced being like, oh, I want to grow my business by this much in the next year, or I want my life to look a particular way in the next year, and then you keep setting that goal and keep finding that it's staying the same, oftentimes it's because you are operating from that space of fear. Like when you are moving to a new space, when you are doing something new, it requires you to do the thing that kind of makes you uncomfortable. Do the thing that scares you a little bit, right? Like start to acknowledge the fear and then move forward. And, in general, we make everything a bigger problem than it actually is. And so wealth mode is rooted in self trust, clarity, and alignment. It's creating safety with money. So instead of being like, oh, I can't make this move because I'm afraid, or this is going to happen if what happens if I lose it all? What happens if people don't want to talk to me anymore? All those things, right? The different talk tracks that we have. If we are in wealth mode, we are acknowledging that these things are happening and we are making these decisions and trusting ourselves that these are the right decisions because they're coming from that place of clarity and they're coming from that place of alignment. And, we got another story time. So let me be real with you. The fear doesn't just disappear, like the work is learning how to acknowledge it, process what's trying to protect you, and was trying to protect you from, really, and taking aligned action anyway. And for me, that big shift came at the end of 2023, I want to say. I was coming off what ended up being $100,000 loss. For most of that year, I had been making decisions from a place of fear, terrified of losing even more, and, just really having to overcome some stuff, y'all. And I kept second guessing myself, holding back and playing small. But when I finished my coaching certification, I realized something. And even while I was in that certification, I realized that I was a much better coach and way more knowledgeable than I gave myself credit for. How many times have we, waited for something else to tell us that we were great, instead of knowing and trusting that in ourselves? And the truth was, I wasn't afraid of failing financially. I was afraid of failing publicly. Okay. that's that's what it was. That was the thing that was holding me back. And when the switch flipped, I decided to stop letting fear run my business and my life. And that's really when I went all in on the Rich Bish brunch and putting that event together. That's when I truly decided I'm going to host the Rich Bish retreat and create that event, that beautiful financial wellness retreat. And that's also when I raised my coaching prices. I adopted what I like to call my fuck it, let's go for it mentality. Okay. Because that's really the thing that has been carrying me, I feel like, since that time. And here's the thing, I haven't fallen flat on my face. I've risen to the occasion. I've grown as a CEO, as a coach, and as a person. And that's the beauty of moving out of survival mode. It doesn't mean that you're never scared. It means you stop letting fear drive the car. And learning to acknowledge some of those things has really, and pushing past it anyway, like deciding to move forward regardless, has been so freeing for me. It's felt like that trust of like, I can do it no matter what I face. I am capable of overcoming it. I am capable of moving in even more beautiful and greater way. And that has been wonderful. So let's get to this last thing for today, building safety and systems for wealth. So the importance of feeling safe with money before building wealth. Okay. Like, it's not something, and I'm sure that I've said this before, but it's not something that like all of a sudden just happens based off of how much money you have. Okay. So I've worked with those who are making less than six figures. I've worked with those who've made more than six figures. We've even worked with those who have been in the seven-figure area. And the amount of money is not dictated how safe they feel with it. And so that's why I talk about doing money dates. And I definitely, if you want more information on money dates, you can check out episode 5. But that is, why that is important, because when you start to create that psychological safety, even with money, you can build upon it as you are receiving more and more money. And the other thing is like with aligned budget. So I always talk about aligning your budget with your lifestyle. What is it that you want to do in your life, and how do we set up your budget to match that? Something I do with clients all the time. And then automating things, because who wants to have to do everything manually all the time? Not I. Okay. And I'm gonna just go ahead and guess, if you listen to this podcast, you probably don't want to have to do it all manually yourself either. And one thing I do with my clients is I have them screenshot a large deposit in their account and look at it daily to anchor in that this is the money they receive now and they're worthy of it. So this happens on payday, when they get a windfall, whatever it is, we're taking that picture and we are putting it in front of ourselves, because we need to start getting used to, this is how much money I receive. This is how much money that's coming to me regularly. That's the money I get. Okay, period. And so another stat is that studies show people with a financial plan are 2.5 times more likely to feel confident about reaching their goals. And it's with anything, right? I'm sure we've all heard the goal setting statistics about, those who set goals achieve them, those who write them down, those who say them out loud, there's all of that. And it's the same thing with the financial plan. And one of my favorite examples of this shift comes from my client, Morgan. When she first came to me, she was a consulting engineer turned real estate developer on paper. She was thriving. But behind the scenes, she was confused every month about where her money was going. She told me her old habits included impulse spending, buyer's remorse, carrying large credit card balances, and even being afraid to check her bank account. That fear was survival mode showing up, even though her income had grown significantly. Together, we worked on creating a safe space for her to talk openly about money, which she said was such a relief. We uncovered why those habits were showing up, reframed her money story, and built actionable steps for saving, spending guilt-free, and knowing exactly where her money was going at all times. The biggest shift for her wasn't just the budget. It was realizing many of her spending habits were based on other people's expectations, not what she truly wanted. Can I get an amen? All right. Once she aligned her budget with her real lifestyle goals, she became more intentional, more confident, and most importantly, she created a system that made her money feel safe and supportive. That's what it looks like to move out of survival mode into wealth mode. Not just earning more, but trusting yourself, your habits, and your systems. Survival mode isn't permanent and was never meant to be permanent. Once you start thinking, what can I do with this money now that my bills and a few expenses are handled? It's a signal that you're ready to transition into that good old wealth mode. All right, y'all, let's recap. So today we broke down what survival mode looks like with money, why it keeps so many high achievers stuck in fear and stress, and how to step into wealth mode with the mindset shifts and systems that build confidence and freedom. Now we have our action step. So your action step this week is to check in with yourself. Where is survival mode still showing up in your finances? Maybe it's avoiding your bank app, or maybe it's that anxiety when a bill comes in. Write it down because awareness is the first step to shifting it. And if you're ready to go deeper, schedule a wealth alignment assessment with me. In just 60 minutes, we'll uncover the exact shifts and strategies to help you move out of survival mode and into wealth mode for good. The link is right in the show notes, and I would love to support you. Make sure you are subscribed because in the next episode, we're diving into how to set financial boundaries, and you won't want to miss it. I'll catch you in the next episode. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Financial Confidence for High Achieving Women podcast. I hope the insights shared in this episode have inspired you to take one small action step toward a more empowered relationship with money. If you're ready to take control of your finances like the rich bitch you are, I invite you to book a 90-minute Organize Your Money Honey intensive with me. You'll walk away with a crystal clear financial plan, a budget you'll actually stick to, and actionable steps to start saving and investing faster. Head to the link in the show notes to book your spot. I'm so grateful to be part of your financial journey, and I can't wait to see all the incredible moves you'll make. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode.